Hey everyone, welcome back to Locked On Cavs. We're back. Obviously, we missed us on Friday, so sorry about that. But we are back here on Monday for a weekend recap edition covering Cavs Celtics, covering Cavs Pistons, and looking ahead to Cavs Celtics round 2 on Monday night in Cleveland. That's all coming up today on Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Evan, two people. I'm gonna do a very bad joke here as we start off. Two things were Dos a Cero this weekend. United States men's national team beating Mexico 2-0, and the Cleveland Cavaliers winning 2 games over the weekend. It's good vibes over here. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Real good vibes all around. I took a mental health day this Sunday. I worked the Charge game Thursday night, the Cavs game Friday night, and the Cavs game Saturday night as well. So I was a little tired today. So went and saw the Eternals. Probably way too long of a movie in my opinion. I didn't enjoy it very much. I understand what they're trying to do with it. It's a groundwork movie, but really sloppy in execution. I think it's just too big of a cast, but it's nice to see Jon Snow and Rob Stark on screen together again. And also every time Rob Stark said Cersei, I was just like, huh, he's finally gonna kill her. So yeah, but yeah, if you know, you know. But how was your weekend before we dive into the Cavs?
Good. It snows here. It's
Ugh.
officially kind of wintry in the Cleveland area. Excited for people being mad about that at All Star, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. But Evan, the Cavs win 2 games again this weekend. Beat the Pistons on Friday, 98-78. Just absolutely throttled the bad Pistons team. Evan Mobley,
I get it because they're the Pistons.
yeah. Darius Garland had 21 points, 8 of 14 shooting, 7 assists in that one. Evan Mobley, 16-7 on 6 of 10 shooting to go with 2 steals and 3 blocks. Kate Cunningham in the matchup of potential rookie of the years had 9 points on 4 of 8 shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 7 turnovers for the Pistons. Evan, for me, not a lot to take away from that one. Just kind of a
No.
game the Cavs should have won and then did. Obviously, the kind of bummer there would be Lamar Stevens sprains his ankle, was on one crutch on Saturday, and
Yeah.
is going to be out for a little bit, it seems like, but they won
Yeah.
the game handily otherwise.
Yeah, they did. The Lamar injury was a lot scarier than it actually seemed. He took a pretty hard fall, so fortunately, it was just an ankle sprain. You feared that it was an actual tendon, like popped during that fall. Yeah, JB was asked about a pregame the following night against Boston. He more or less just said, "We'll see." Looking ahead to Monday's game, Lamar is listed out still, so no heart and soul barking for the Cavs right now. But at least he can still sit on the sidelines with them. Yeah, my takeaways from the Pistons game are the Pistons are not very good. I didn't know how bad they were offensively in terms of 3-point shooting until StatMuse started tweeting out those graphics. I'm just like, oh god, they really are that bad. I think my other takeaway for the Cavs, other than the fact that Evan Mobley is probably going to win Rookie of the Year at this point if he carries this momentum, I'm intrigued to see what happens when he does hit that rookie wall and how he gets through it. But my biggest takeaway is the Cavs finally look like a competent team where this wasn't a trap game. They came in and handled a bad Detroit team and they won wire. It was a wire to wire ass kicking, like full stop for the Cavs. And that's encouraging if they want to be a serious team about making the playoffs so that they can handle these bad teams like Detroit and not kind of play down to their level.
Yeah, I think there's still gonna. I'm just waiting for like whenever the bump in the road sort of comes. But I think it is a good sign that they beat a Pistons team who is bad, who is objectively one of the very worst teams in the league, up there with Oklahoma City and Houston and Orlando, and like
Oh,
the
not
Pistons are
so
bad.
fast, my friend. The Thunder are winning. The
Yeah,
Kings
well,
had a
but
meltdown last night.
yeah, but
The other
but like,
night.
well, are the Thunder gonna be this in like 4 months? But they've 3 really good guys. I would love Lou Dort on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I'd
And who
love Poku when he ascends to his final form. So
when in like 20 years when he's like added some weight, I'm good. The Pistons aren't good. The Cavs took care of business. The first game they were favored in all season, and they absolutely destroyed the Detroit. Good for them. If they could pick something to watch this year is if the Cavs are gonna make a real run at the playoffs, at the play-in. Right now, just for what it's worth, the 538 model has gone from the Cavs being a 1% playoff team to a 15% chance in their model right now. It's a very big jump in a relatively short amount of time.
well, you know what else is a big jump? Uh, Cleaning the Glass has them on pace to win 44.4 games this
Yeah,
year.
if their numbers,
If they maintain this rate,
if their
and
numbers like as they are
I'm
now hold.
starting to buy in. Is the thing.
Yeah, I'm a little like 44 wins feels like a lot to me,
Oh,
you
JB
know?
would win Coach of the Year because Cleveland would probably be at least a top 4 seed with 44 wins and at least host the first round.
I'm not thinking that far ahead. It is impossible to think that far ahead for about any of this to me. It is still very early in what we're navigating here. But like if they're gonna make a real run at this, beating a team like the Pistons, it doesn't matter if it's 20 points, it doesn't matter if it's 2 points. Those wins cash the same. And if they can rack up wins against these bad teams, they play Orlando coming up, for instance. That's like a game that if you want to make a real run at this, you got to clean as many of those up as you possibly can. The Celtics game, on the other hand, which I
That
think we're
was
spending a lot of time on. Um,
dreadful.
one of
Effort.
the most buck wild Cavs games I have watched in a long time.
Buck Wild's a good way to put it, man,
That's
because
why I'm relatively okay with words.
I'm glad you are. Despite losing your fingers and your hands, you're still doing okay. But the
Mm.
fact that the Cavs scored 9 points in the first quarter and then somehow found a pulse offensively, like midway into the third, and then came back and watched. I mean, Boston fell apart in spectacular fashion in the fourth, but in my mind after the first quarter, I'm like, they're coming off the second of a back to back. This is a pretty good Boston team. Like Ime Udoka is out coaching JV Bickerstaff. I'm like, this is gonna be a pretty easy Saturday night. And then I'm just like, I don't get it. I JB Bickerstaff said it best. By all sense of logical basketball conviction, Cleveland should not have won this game. He used a lot of sports cliches. He's like, we never gave up, and just things like that. And like, credit where credit's due to JB. He knew what they needed to do to win. He said it was pretty much playing Ricky Rubio the entire second half and playing Evan Mobley 40 minutes. I don't know if that's necessarily sustainable every
No,
single
no,
game.
not those two things. Rubio playing as well as he has, I think there's like some dip that will happen because he's just playing like he's got the highest usage rate of his career right now, and Mobley playing 40 minutes is a lot. But like, I mean, this was a game, Evan, where Denzel Valentine played in the first quarter and like played like played some actual minutes. Like as you alluded to, this is it. The Cavs scored 9 points in the first quarter, 37, I believe, or 38 in the first half. It's a season low. Here's some offensive numbers from the first half: 77.6 offensive rating, effective field goal percentage of 37.2, 12 of 29 from the field, which is 31%, 5 of 20 from three. That's pretty low. And then, just in terms of how just uncomfortable they were, 47 of the percent of the Cavs shots in the first half, according to Clean the Glass, were from three. Evan, do you have a rough idea of what percentage of shots the Cavs actually normally take from three on a normal night? Like what is the percentage of shots you think they take from three?
In terms of their entire shot
Yeah,
profile, maybe like 25-30%.
okay, so 34%, which is the
That's
23rd
close.
23rd rate in the league. They were just like, okay, like we don't know what to do here, and they just kind of had to like figure some stuff out. And it was like really the only person who like really played well was for the first half of that game was Darius Garland for a lot of that part of that game. Like everything just kind of looked out of sorts. Like there's moments where like guys did the right thing and they just kind of botched the ball. Like not they just never looked comfortable. And the Celtics, to their credit, I thought did a lot of stuff that made the Cavs uncomfortable. There was these really hard doubles inside, and they're making the Cavs move the ball and then react. And the Cavs just weren't comfortable just like reading and reacting in those situations. Like
No.
that, to speak to the Rubio of it all, like he's a guy who's obviously going to be able to handle that. And like they didn't have a ton of that. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of that was tricky for them to navigate.
Yeah, there really was a lot for them that was tricky for them to navigate. I actually have a few takeaways from notes I took. I noticed like that maybe we should maybe hit a quick pause, read some ads real quick, pay those bills, and come back because I I am a big Emi Udoka believer. I think Boston's offense is as bad as advertised. I think I'll see it to take that with a grain of salt because Jaylen Brown didn't play, but defensively the Celtics squad is really scrappy. And I think I kind of have a reason why they're able to defend Cleveland so well. But let's take a quick break, Chris, and read some ads. Why don't you tell us
Yeah,
about today's first sponsor?
Yeah, first up, we got our friends at Prize Picks who have the best NBA DFS prop bet game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator and offer all the superstar players as well as bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns and even interceptions thrown. All of your users that deposit with the promo code NBA get a deposit match up to $100. All you got to do as a user is pick 2 to 5 players and an over under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus those projected numbers. They allow mixed sports entry, so you could take, let's say, the over on, let's say, Evan Mobley blocks, and then the under on Darius Garland in the same sense. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy, and use their award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. They are safe and easy and offer fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com, use the promo code NBA, or go to your App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy.
Today's episode of Locked On Cavs is also brought to you by DirecTV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so that you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device acquired. Content varies by package.
Stuck it.
Just stuck the landing there.
You landed that plane well. Good job, buddy.
Uh,
Evan, pitch me your theories. I'm gonna make you keep talking. Pitch me your theories on what Boston was doing that you thought worked.
Something I noticed Boston do really well was they switched from man defense to zone a few times to kind of force the Cavs to shoot, because Isaac Okoro hasn't been gun shy in the last 2 games for Cleveland. I think he has made one of 13 3-pointers between his game against Detroit and Boston. I could be wrong on that, but that's just off the top of my head. I don't have it exactly in front of me, but Isaac's been gunning from 3. Spencer Davies actually asked JV about that after the Pistons game, where he's like, JB said I'd more or less would rather Isaac close out on his defender and try and attack the basket, because his strength is a slasher right now instead of as a 3-point shooter.
Hey, Evan, who has said that the strength of Isaac Okoro? Name is Chris Manning. It's me. I said that.
Name rhymes with Chris Manning. It's Chris Manning. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, you're 100% right here. You're spot on the Isaac evaluation. But the problem is,
Evan, I'm also in the process of watching every single shot he's ever taken in his career, and my brain hurts a little bit. So we'll be writing about that. We'll be talking about that. It's going to be a fun time for everyone involved.
We will do a really legitimate breakdown, I think, on a few key players in Cleveland's rotation.
David Zavak, put your full name in on your Twitter bio, you coward. Get rid of the apostrophe. Let's go.
But the thing is, the Isaac as well being trigger happy from 3 is he hasn't been available for media, so no one's been really able to ask him yet, like, why are you taking so many 3-pointers out there? Teams do not respect Isaac at all on the perimeter. Like, he was floating on the perimeter against Detroit, and I noticed it, but I really noticed it against Boston, because I basically would have like a free safety, whether it was Grant Williams helping pack the paint, or Jason Tatum, or Marcus Smart switching off of Darius Garland.
The Smart one, where Smart was his man, it was just in help. The disrespect. Oh, okay. Like, we're just gonna it wouldn't shock me, Evan, if on Monday Smart is defending Garland from the jump and Horford is just stashed on Okoro, just hanging. If Horford just didn't play on Saturday, is probable for Monday. It wouldn't shock me if they're just like, we're gonna treat Isaac like a big and just like be weird with it. It wouldn't shock me if they decided. Well,
there's times they put Schroeder on Garland, and then they would put Smart on Okoro or Tatum on Okoro, and then Garland would be bringing the ball up, and they would just force a double on him and frustrate Darius. And Darius is clearly getting frustrated with how Boston is defending him on the perimeter, and like, he broke it down. That's great, but. Again, Mac Jones asked a really good question. Mac Robinson. Sorry, now Mac Jones.
Alabama quarterback Mac Jones.
McCorkle Jones. Think about how he kicked the Patriots' ass today.
Kicked the Browns' ass.
The Browns' ass today. I'm just all over the place right now, but
that's why I'm here. You're in the sidecar, and I'm here just steering you along, patting you on the back.
You're driving Leanne's Purple Hog right now, but with the sparkle accents and the yellow flames, because she's a secret Vikings fan, and also it's her school colors, but we won't out it where she works.
No. Shout! We have some.
We have a listener. Shouts
to the Keystone 8th grade class with Mrs. Manning. You're the best, and you kids use YouTube. Hit subscribe. Anyway, continue.
So it's just the Boston and Emi Udoka just more or less knows like, listen, Isaac can float on the perimeter all he wants. If we pack the paint, he cannot slash, and also we can just force doubles on Darius Garland since Darius is a smaller guard. That's the difficulty of it. I think that's where you really feel the absence of Colin Sexton. Other than the fact that when the offense bogs down and the Cavs need an easy bucket, that's where it gets tough. The same thing can be said for not having Larry Marketing or Kevin Love out there too, because at least those two have 3-point gravity,
Mm-hmm.
and a team like Boston has to respect that. But
I think Markkinen has held up better defensively than Dean Wade has. Just straight up.
exactly,
Yeah.
straight up, like but it's just the reality of the situation too. I just think that Marketing is 2 steps above the type of player. And Dean Wade's played well. I'm just not saying.
I wrote about this in the links post. Like he's a success story if you're looking at like finding like fringe roster talent like for cheap. Like he's
Oh,
a success story in that. Like it's
the
true.
Cleveland Charge beat their chest with pride that Dean Wade is a success story of theirs.
Yeah,
And
and I
also
know
it was
that's not like sexy for people, but Evan, can we need to get into the positives because we've talked a lot about like with the weirdness of this game, and I think we'll talk more about that
oh
in looking
dude,
ahead. But
these
this
you
game at
said
the
it
end,
best that these Cavs have stones. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought they were dead in the water. I was like, this game's over. And then
I pre-wrote a recap because of the first half. No lie,
I
big mistake for me.
I was just like getting ready to ask JB what went wrong. I was going to ask him about the dunk stuff still, and I said, "What did Boston?" I mean, that's the other thing is like I'm working on a story about how the Cavs are leading the league in dunks. Like Boston more or less prevented a lot of rim pressure from Mobley and Allen. Like that's a good defensive tactic on their part. But for some reason, man, this Cavs team has some juice, and a lot of credit goes to JB. I think like you and I talked about like the 2 key factors were Mobley playing 40 minutes and just kind of playing out of his gourd in the second half, and Ricky Rubio just playing with no fear on the floor at times. Like I asked JB, did you plan or draw up Rubio throwing a lob pass to Jared Allen to take the lead in the closing moments of the game? He's like, no, absolutely
Yeah,
not. And he kind of laughed
that
because
was all
JB's
that was Rubio pulling that out of the hat. That was nothing.
he's
Yeah,
just like because JB's the type of coach where he doesn't like his guards to take risks like that because people have asked him like, do you like it when Rubio plays risky? And he said before the game, he's like, we want Spanish team Ricky Rubio. That's what we told him what we wanted when he sat down. We saw a little bit of the flair for the dramatic with Ricky on that play, and it was the exact spark the Cavs needed to close that game because it was absolute pandemonium. Because like the crowd was feeding off the energy at that point too. Like Jetty hitting that 3-pointer, and Jetty's like, I knew we were going to win the game at that point. For some reason, this Cavs team has stones, like you said, and it's fun to watch. It's great to cover too.
yeah. I think a couple of plays that really stood out. Number one, I think JB made a challenge. He made a challenge called 5:26 to go. This is the goaltending call on Mobley. So Mobley chased down Jason Tatum and blocked the shot. He blocked the shot. It gets called as goaltending. He calls it. The Cavs win his legal block. It's a subtle point in there, but it's A, Mobley highlighted, B, like he made a really, really good call to do that. Number one, 130. Number two, 139 to go. Mobley posts up and scores. He's quick. He's decisive. And then he ate up Tatum on the other end after just scoring on him. Brilliant
Yep.
two-way play from Evan Mobley. Love that they went to him late. Love that they gave him that kind of rep. Notably, like obviously this was a game where like Jared Allen maybe didn't play quite as much because they kind of just leaned on Mobley at the 5. They certainly I think felt some of the benefits of that.
Isaac
Here,
Okoro was a non-factor entirely.
I mean Denzel Valentine was in this game later than Isaac Okoro, which is bad because Denzel Valentine isn't good. But like
No.
I understand sort of like how you could be like, okay, I'm gonna get the guy who maybe it's gonna hit a 3 if it swings his way and trust in a little bit there.
Yeah.
Cavs in the quarter late in this game, 10-21 from the field, 3-21 for Boston. Some Garland heroics, some free throws late to kind of win this game. A really good job for him to navigate that switch and get the foul on Smart. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but for him to Marcus Smart maybe isn't like absolute like
He's
apex like on guards Marcus Smart anymore. Like he's not quite as quick as he was maybe a couple of years ago, but he's still really, really good. And
he's
Darius
incredibly
Garland, like
smart.
Darius Garland smoked him off with his handle. Smoked him and got the foul,
Yep.
hit the free throws. Cavs win the game. Unbelievable. Like they won because Rubio, but like more so because Mobley and DG did some really crazy stuff when they needed them to.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. I'm trying to think
And
of
didn't even talk about Jetty because the Jetty stop
Jetty,
at
the
the end of this
Jetty, the
game
Jetty
was just
stop
like
and the Jetty 3, like the Jetty 3 to kind of just swing the momentum fully back into Cleveland's favor. Like
they're getting
that's when you
Turkish
kind of
national team Jetty.
they're
Is the
getting
thing.
Spanish national team Ricky, Turkish national team Jetty. Like I don't know what it is. It's probably not sustainable, but I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time, and I'm having fun watching these Cavs play. A fun play for me with Boston, though, is when Jason Tatum tried to do a bunch of dribble moves, I think, to close out the first half. I'm just like, it's not bad for a guy with no knees. I respect it. Not Jason Tatum. Sorry, Jabari Parker. Goodness gracious, I'm all over the
Yeah,
place tonight.
you're struggling.
Got some scatterbrain.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out the Jetty defense for a second because I think we should well and talk about this game on this because I don't think there's a play to me that epitomizes what has gone right for this Cavs team so far than that play because last year Cedi Osman in JB Bickerstaff's doghouse shooting awfully from three, not playing hard, playing awful defense. The end of that game, Udoka basically said straight up post game, we tried to hunt Cedi Osman in that situation. We thought we
Yep.
could get a bucket on him in that moment. And Cedi held up. He made an incredible defensive play. His feet were solid. His body was solid. He contested the shot tightly. He played with confidence. He played hard on defense this entire game. He's played hard on defense for most of this season. That is sort of to me part of the recipe for this Cavs team.
Yep.
The fact that they have just gotten guys to buy and to play hard, and Cedi just being a guy that has looked like a good NBA player again after looking awful last year, it has just been a big swing.
It really has been huge. I think having him and Rubio coming off the bench together in tandem is a good shot in the arm for the Cavs too. I know it's something JB really likes to deploy. I think that was a key factor in starting Isaac over Rubio when Colin went down with his knee injury, because he kind of likes the spark Jetty and Rubio provide together. And I think it's pretty clear because Ricky looks for Jetty pretty early into the game when they first check in together to kind of get him going to build some momentum too. But yeah, no, like you said, JB and this staff have this team playing hard every single night. Maybe it is Evan Mobley just kind of being otherworldly defensively and Jared Allen providing so much rim protection and like Isaac Okoro being a stud defensively too. Like it's just kind of the mindset. Like maybe this whole dog thing Darius Garland keeps promoting, because Darius keeps talking about how he likes playing defense more than he likes scoring, which is weird because I think he's an incredibly talented offensive player. So yeah, it's just fun, man. Like there's just no other way to explain it. By no convention of the word, the Cavs should have won this game. Emi Udoka outcoached JB Bickerstaff for the first three quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, something JB did just kind of, it was sticking with Rubio down the entire stretch. So that was his decision that just kind of baffled the Celtics a little bit, and I think Rubio just kind of being a little too high on his own supply really pushed the Cavs over the edge.
Yeah, I am very excited for Monday's rematch. We'll talk about that after the break, but first, got to tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Evan, I love Thanksgiving, and it's coming up soon. There's so much good food, there's
It's
treats,
snuck
and
up
there's
on
plenty
me.
of it.
I'm gonna be showing up empty-handed at Thanksgiving dinner. I might have to bring some Built Bars as my dessert option.
So look, perfect time for Built Bars. It's the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie has upwards of 300 calories, and that is on the low end. There are only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar, with plenty of protein in a Built Bar. There are so many great flavors. Coconut, if you want to replace a coconut pie. Raspberry to replace that raspberry pie. And you could find other ones you just like because they're chocolatey and they're good. I mean, I just ordered some coconut brownie chunk ones because they're back in stock. And that is an all-time Built Bar flavor. They're covered in 100% chocolate. Great option for when you're hungry. And, if Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough and you want a treat now, go for a Built Bar or two. I'm going to take one to eat after I run the turkey trot in downtown Cleveland because I'm going to want some protein after to hold me over to dinner. And that's going to be a really healthy, efficient way for me to do that. There are new surprises all month. And remember, there's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. So mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event with all sorts of surprises. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 50% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Evan, I'm going to mute my mic and cough for a second. And while I do that, tell me what you're looking forward to in round 2 of Cavs Celtics.
Well, I was wondering because Jaylen Brown was a late scratch for the Celtics in Saturday's game. I thought maybe after watching how Boston
Do you
was
mean Al
defending,
Horford?
Al Horford and Jaylen Brown both were late scratches for Boston.
Jalen had pulled his hamstring the night before, and it was kind of clear, I thought, that he wasn't going to play.
But the Celtics announced 30 minutes before tip saying
because they run that, but because of NBA rules, they run the second have a back-to-back, blah blah blah.
I know. Either way, so I thought maybe if Jaylen Brown did play on Monday, if he inexplicably, and hammies are tough, they're awkward and hard to navigate. I thought to myself, I'm like, the Cavs could really be thrown into a grinder here because Darius could have to deal with Jaylen Brown defending him, with Marcus Smart playing off of Isaac Okoro, or Jason Tatum playing off of Isaac Okoro, and they could just throw the two Jays or one of the Jays with Marcus on top of Darius and just kind of smother him offensively and just kind of keep him out of rhythm too. No, instead, it's just going to be Tristan Thompson's son, Al Horford, probably making his return to Cleveland again. Like you said, the Celtics could hide him on Isaac Okoro and kind of let him provide help and pack the paint a bit more and frustrate Mobley and Allen a lot more. I'm wondering what adjustments Emi Udoka is going to make because, again, I think he's a very sound tactician defensively. There are some limitations on Boston's offense, and I'm wondering what JB is going to do to kind of maybe get a spark in this team because you do not want to have a repeat of scoring only 9 points in the first quarter because again, it was more or less a miracle that the Cavs won this game on Saturday.
They aren't winning a game if they do that again. They're not going to win if that
Now,
happens again.
if they do, I'm going to be more scatterbrained than I am now talking about Monday's game than I am talking about Saturday's game. I'm curious to see what they do. I hope Evan Mobley takes more threes because his offensive game just keeps growing and growing with every game. Like, it's nuts, man. He mentioned Friday when they played Detroit that he wants to take more 3-pointers, and he took, I believe, 1 or 2 against Detroit and made them. He took 1 or 2 against Boston and maybe made one of them. Like, if he can provide some, let's say, just extra 3-point gravity or some spacing on the offense, that makes Jared Allen's life a hell of a lot easier too. And like Cleveland's offense could really be clicking. I don't know, man. I think I'm more so looking at to see what Boston's gonna do because they just straight up melted down in the fourth quarter. And they've kind of done that a lot this year from what I've gathered, but I'm just curious to see what they do. A lot of their bench pieces are just non-factors. The picks Danny Ainge made with all those picks still are questionable, but yeah, and I also just don't think Marcus Smart's a starting point guard. I also think that's a problem for Boston too. I think they need to go get like an actual point guard to start for them.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm really intrigued by on both sides for this game is just that this is one of those weird situations where we're in season and you're getting two teams playing each other in the same city over the course of a couple days. You don't normally get that in the NBA. You just don't. Your adjustments you're making game to game are more macro and more about your team specifically. I'll be really curious to see how the Cavs in particular adjust after what they saw on Saturday because let's assume Horford plays. It adds another good smart defender to Boston's repertoire, to their
Not really an
rotation.
offensive threat, but yeah, it's a defensive threat.
But I mean, Al Horford's going to be a positive for them. Assuming he's kind of been
Yeah.
key to what they do, right? The Cavs have to figure out like how their offense can work a little bit better. Some of the second half stuff I think was just sort of guys making really high end plays and like nothing that was really like a schematic shifter or some kind of like hard adjust, like some bigger adjustment. They need to figure out like one of the things that will be tricky for this team going forward is going to be okay. If especially while Colin is out for however long that's going to be, we don't have a clear timeline on that as of right now. It could be, it could be a while. It's going to be a while probably. With that situation, when you don't have Ricky and Darius on the floor together, you have to find these pressure escape valves to like create offense, you have to kind of handle sort of those opportunities well, and they didn't do that. Are there little tweaks they can make to do that? Are there little things they can add in just to kind of cope with what Boston is going to throw back at them? Because it would not surprise me if Boston looks at the big picture of Saturday's game, particularly in the first half, and says, okay, a lot of our game plan here worked. We didn't execute well in the second half. We can fix that. Let's just run this game plan back, make a couple adjustments on the smaller side, and we'll figure this out. And if you're the Cavs, I think you have to be like, okay, there's some work we need to do here to figure some of this out. And it's also a learning thing for them, right? This is a team that, has to, this was like one of the first games we've seen where like Mobley at the 5 was really like the dynamic key piece for them as opposed to him and Allen closing games together. This was a game where the offense was like a lot of Darius doing and Ricky doing Darius and Ricky stuff and them figuring it out. Like,
Yeah.
There's a reason that I think JB just was like, hey, Denzel Valentine, I'm just going to try something because I feel like I need to try something here. It's just a way to do it. Like, there's like
I don't
just some
think
weirdness
Denzel
in
would have
this.
played if Lamar was available.
Yeah, but I mean, like going to him and then sticking with him late in the second half just because he was on the floor when the game sort of shifted was just like, I'm just gonna like ride out what's working here. Like it was a
That's fair.
very like tense playoff kind of thing, and this is
That's
like
what I was gonna say.
this is like the game to game adjustment stuff we don't get to see. I wish frankly, one of the things I would love in the NBA schedule, and I don't necessarily know why they don't do this,
His
but
baseball scheduling.
not necessarily like the full on baseball scheduling, but like a approximation of it. Like we saw it a little bit during the pandemic because it was like we want to limit travel, and we think,
Mhm.
and that was smart. I love when you can get two teams like this in back to back
Yeah,
like that. I think it's cool. I
it's
think it's
cool.
cool that they're
You can
playing
watch
the
the
Nets like
tactics,
really
and
close together within like a week of each other. I think that's also cool. I want to see more of that.
I do too. And actually, it's a good point because Jetty apparently was telling some of the younger players like this is what a playoff game feels like this high intensity, high
Yeah,
stakes.
NBA.
NBA finalist Cedi Osman, ladies and gents. But that's a good point because this kind of has a baseball-y feel to it, where it's a 2 game series more or less, and then they maybe like then you think though they go on the road to play in Boston or whatever. But like it's really going to be a tactical battle between Emi Udoka and JB Bickerstaff and both the Boston and Cleveland staff, respectively, to figure out what adjustments you make. And I think you're spot on with what you said about Boston, where they say we were doing a lot of the right things in the first half. We just continue to execute that, maybe make a few small alterations, and maybe we find more ways to frustrate their smaller guards. I guess Ricky Rubio is more of a traditional size point guard, but Darius Garland's small compared to like Marcus Smart or Jason Tatum or whomever they throw at him. Um, for Cleveland, I wonder if they defend the. I mean, I don't. Their 3 point defense was not great against Boston. I'll say like Jason Tatum was killing them at times from three. Dennis Schroeder was getting any shot he wanted because they were kind of putting Darius Garland in a grinder on defense at times. So I wonder what adjustments Boston makes, and also what I wonder what adjustments Cleveland makes too, just to kind of counterbalance some of the things that were killing them. Maybe so it's not as dire or stressful as a game for the coaching staff.
Yeah. For and also just because we've kind of talked around him a little bit, and we're gonna do a whole episode on him coming up in the near-ish future.
Mhm.
I have it on the written calendar for the sword of when that's going to come up, but I just want to see what Okoro looks like. This is just going to be a thing. This is just a thing now.
Yeah, it's a game to game thing. Like I think it's like a fun. It's like I chuckled at the joke, but it's true too. It's 0K 0R0 right now. Like he has zero impact on offense, and like defensively he does a lot of stuff, but he cannot be Andre Roberson for the Cavs. He needs to provide a little bit of juice somehow, some way offensively.
Yeah, and look, I am a Isaac believer. I
So am
think
I.
I think he's gonna like ultimately like be fine in some way, but there's something just a little off in the water right now. And some of that can be him finding his role. Some of that can be him like coming back from injury, and like like everything is just a little like here's the thing.
Cleveland's
Everything
next
with the
5 games aren't a good way to find your niche, my guy.
well, but the thing that I will say to empathize with him as we wrap up is just this Cav season, I think to some degree has been a little of like we're finding stuff that works as it goes, and it is a little of like we're making do with what is here, and we are screwing through this. If there's anyone who's going to kind of be at a little bit of a disadvantage in that kind of environment and is maybe looks just a little out of place as they're playing right now, it's going to be a guy who doesn't have like a clear like catch and shoot offensive role. Isn't really like he's doing a little bit of cutting and but he's not really we're not really seeing him attack closeouts like he might have last year, a guy who played a ton of minutes last year and has his minutes cut, and a guy who just came back from injury. Like everything is just like a little wonky for him. Whereas like Mobley is just like a basketball savant. Rubio is Ricky Rubio. Darius Garland has incredible feel. The things that are fueling this Cavs team right now are like those guys and them figuring stuff out. Okoro is like not quite that kind of piece. And he can be really effective. He's had some really, really good defensive moments. He had some good defensive moments against Boston. There's just like some stuff with him where it's like, okay, we gotta like figure it out. I mean, like he had a charge against Marcus Smart where and again in the third quarter where he just like barreled into Marcus Smart. Like it was just
Yeah.
very like bull in a china shop and a guy like kind of processing what's going on. And he's not like the intuitive like figured out on the fly kind of thing. To me, it seems like this is going to be a thing where like if he comes out of this in a positive way, it's going to be like a navigation kind of thing. And all of
Yeah.
that, and again, all of the season is still weird. Like it is not quite as weird as last year or the year before because of the pandemic and all that stuff. But like he was off of injury and he comes back and everything's just a little bit different. And I'm sure there's some effect there that is not like fun to. I just think it's pragmatic. Do you think about it that way? I'm such like a macro thing on this Cavs team still, where it's like I think this is still a big picture project versus like a right
Oh
now kind of
yeah.
thing. And I'm that when
Nothing's
that
certain.
that colors everything that I think about this team. I think it's just that I think this is
Yeah.
still very much like a not a right now thing. This is it's very fun right now. they're playing their asses off right now. All that stuff. Mobley is incredible. Like full stop.
Yep.
Enjoy him right now. It is
Yep.
this
It's
this
gonna
is it's the
it's
most fun team since like
the
I don't
first
even know.
LeBron era Cavs because I had fun watching them even after they got embarrassed by the Knicks. Not the first LeBron era Cavs, the first year of the second LeBron era. I'm just like,
Well, but
there's some
even
juice to this team.
this is like less stressful. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
this is
there's a
like
lot more
like
pressure there.
but like covering this is we'll do this as a whole episode, but I kind of think if you go back to that like second LeBron era, like even that first year was like it was tense right away. Like getting to start to cover those teams, it was very much just like okay, like there's like tension and like this is a little more.
That's fair.
You know, I think there's some of it we don't fully always know because like especially with no locker room access and stuff, but like
Mm-hmm.
and when you hear guys post game, it is like sort of guys that gonna certain spin or whatever. But like you, there's a there's a little just like buoyancy and jovialness and vibes that are just sort of correct here in a way that like
Sparking.
I don't know what the last time that has been this sort of not stress free, but like not like weight of the world on their shoulders, Cavs team. Like it hasn't felt like
Yeah.
this in a while.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I think this game against Boston, the Saturday one, just toss it up. I guess the Cavs just sports cliched their way to the win on that one. I think Cleveland's next 5 games are going to be a real gut check for this team, and they're like kind of first test of adversity post Colin Sexton injury. They play Boston on Monday. They play Brooklyn on Wednesday. They come home immediately to play Golden State on Thursday. Then they take a few days off to play Brooklyn again on Monday, and then they host Phoenix on Wednesday. And if you really want to get grimy with it, they play the Jazz as well soon after that. Like that's a pretty tough 6-game stretch for a young team. And like some of it's on the road, most of it's at home. I think them being home helps a lot, but we'll have a clearer idea of what the dichotomy of this Cavs team is without Colin Sexton, probably by the time they wrap things up against Utah, because it's a lot of
Mhm.
interesting tests for a lot of different players. Mobley, Allen, Garland, Okoro, you name it. It's going to be a lot of people are going to be tested. JB's going to be tested.
Mhm.
But like you said, enjoy it while it lasts. Just kind of enjoy it on a game-to-game basis. I'm not going to tell you how to fan, obviously, but don't get too caught up in the details because this isn't a finished project. This isn't a finished product, I should say. Like Allen is the only certainty in terms of the young core. Maybe obviously Mobley too, but like I feel Garland is safe. But like anybody could be available for the right price if it makes things better for the Cavs. But we don't have a clear vision really of what this team can be yet. But we're getting an idea of at least they're learning how to win in real time, and that's just fun to see.
Yep. All right, we'll be back. Cavs play the Celtics at home again Monday, 7 p.m. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We'll be covering that and looking ahead to the rest of the week and some other things coming out of that game on Tuesday's show. Until then, it's been Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris. He's Evan. Have a good one.